Happy Wednesday. I am here with your Wednesday wisdom. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Please take a moment to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will not miss any content from me. If you are a returning angel, welcome back. I'm happy to have you here. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. If you can take a moment to like and comment, possibly share the video if you think somebody else would be interested in it, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me grow my channel and reach more people. Okay, I am here for Wednesday wisdom. I'm going to try for the third or fourth time, to talk about boundaries. I have had technical difficulties. I have had other issues. I don't know. But today they kept saying to me, I said, well, what is Wednesday wisdom going to be? And they kept saying boundaries. And I was like, well, why do you keep stopping my boundaries from getting out? Let's try it again. Okay? Okay. Boundaries. What are boundaries? I feel like physical boundaries are easy to know, to see, to accept. For instance, in my home, if my bedroom door is shut, my kids have always known like that's it. Like I need time alone. If my door is open, then they can come in. They have the same restrictions. There were times when my sons were little and they would have their door open and they'd be playing video games or whatever. And then there were times when they had their door shut. And that was like an unwritten law that we knew they wanted privacy. And we respected that. And my daughter and I are not big knockers, because sometimes you knock on somebody's door and you think they say come in, and you open the door and they're like, I didn't say come in. So we'll text each other first. I'll be like, hey, like she'll text me and be like, hey, can I come in? And some people might think like that's weird, or for us, it's a respect thing. And I feel like boundaries are definitely about respecting someone else's space. Okay, I feel like with the pandemic, it's been difficult because I am definitely a hugger. I'm a handshaker. I'm whatever. I'm very big on physical touch. And clearly we don't do that anymore. And it's weird for me when I meet someone and we introduce ourselves and there's no handshake. And I don't know that that's ever going to go back, because I think people have just gotten accustomed to it, and that makes me sad. But that's also a boundary that you have to know. If someone's not comfortable with that kind of physical connection, then you need to take a step back, right? So I think physical boundaries are much simpler to respect and to understand. Emotional boundaries and spiritual boundaries are a little bit tougher. Okay, take a look at your life and see if there is energy that you are giving out that you don't want to be giving out. Are people taking advantage of your energy and your time? The other day, I was out running errands and I was working, and my son texted me and he said, can you talk quick? And I said, not really. We had been texting, we had been discussing things. And he's like, okay. So I said, not really. I said, I'm out. And plus I was out with my daughter, and a lot of times when I'm out with her, I'm on the phone for work. And it's just, to me, it's just rude when I'm on the phone and she's with me. So I said, I really can't. And he told me later, he's like, I was so happy that you said that. He's like, because sometimes I feel like you just say yes, even if the answer is no. And I said, well, I can't do that anymore. Like I have to say no. But I do get that knot in my stomach. Like I was recording that video the other day and my phone was buzzing, and it was driving me crazy because somebody was calling me, and that was my personal phone. And I was like, it's probably one of my kids, and it bothers me. And I have to, like I said in the video, that was a lesson for me. because I need to learn to set boundaries. I'm in the middle of something. I can't do that. And when I called my son, he goes, "Oh, it's okay. I was just drowning. It's fine." Like, it was funny, but that's a really hard boundary for me to set when somebody needs me. But that is an energetic boundary. So how many times are you giving away your energy when you really don't want to? And then you find yourself being resentful, or maybe you have a dip in your energy. You're not in the best of moods anymore. You're annoyed. You're frustrated. Well, whose fault is that? It's your fault, because you didn't set boundaries. You need to set boundaries, and you need to stick to them. Even if it's a matter of, okay, from this time to this time every day, I'm not going to take phone calls. I'm not going to take text messages. I'm not going to do anything except whatever I want to do. That's a good way to practice that, setting boundaries for your energy and your attention. Things that we allow into our field can affect so many other things. Yesterday, I picked my daughter up from school, and she had her phone, she was listening to something, which normally she doesn't. She normally has headphones in. And it was the news, like it was something about politics or whatever. And I finally said, "Why are we listening to this?" And she's like, "Oh, sorry." She goes, "It just came up on my feed." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to hear that. Like, I need to keep my energy clear." And it made me think of times when I allowed things to enter my energy that affected me for the rest of the day. Well, whose fault was that? I have to set the boundaries. And in the past, I wouldn't have said, "Can you please turn that off?" or "What? I don't want to hear that," because I didn't want to hurt someone's feelings, right? But at what cost? And if you don't set the boundaries of what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable for you, how is the other person going to know? Because they're just going to think that you're okay with it. Okay. Another boundary for me is being ignored. I don't accept that any longer. If you are going to ignore me, then I'm no longer going to give you any of my energy, because I deserve the same respect that I would give someone else. For my daughter's generation, it's being left on red. Like, if I don't know why you put those, I don't know why you let people see when you read their messages if you're not going to respond right away. That's just ridiculous. But that's like a big thing with the younger generation. Well, they left me on red. And that's a boundary that I'm no longer willing to accept. If someone doesn't want me in their life, I'm not going to exert myself into their life anymore. And if you don't want someone in your life, instead of just ignoring them, you should be respectful and put up boundaries and say, "Listen, this isn't working for me. I don't want to have this friendship or this relationship or this business association with you any longer. Thank you for your time," and move on. Those are healthy boundaries to set. It's uncomfortable to do. It's uncomfortable to say those things, but I think it's necessary, because if everyone would communicate what it was they were looking for and communicate their boundaries clearly, I think we would have a lot less strife in the world, instead of everybody trying to figure out what other people want or expect of them, or taking things personally, which that's a whole nother Wednesday wisdom. You never take things personally. Most of the time it doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with the other person. I think if you set boundaries and you communicate them clearly, the world would definitely operate in a better way. Miscommunication is the biggest cause of conflict in the world. You can't expect people to know what your boundaries are what you will accept, what you will not accept if you don't communicate them clearly. Now, that's not to say that even if you communicate them clearly, the other person might not respect them, but then it's your choice whether or not to still have interaction with that other person if they are not respecting your boundaries. And everybody has different boundaries. That, like, I remember when my kids were little, my ex-husband would freak out if they went in my purse. And I would be like, that wasn't a big deal to me, because I knew if they went in my purse, it was important. Or most of the time they would say to me, Mom, can I get such and such out of your purse? But because when he was a child, this whole issue happened with somebody going in somebody's purse, it affected him. So that was like a big thing. So I would say to them, because I respected, even though it was my purse, I respected the fact that that was like a big trigger for their dad. I would say, just bring me my purse. You know, Dad doesn't like when you go in my purse. You know, that was something that he communicated, that boundary clearly, and I respected it, even though it wasn't necessarily a boundary that I needed to have. But when people don't communicate their boundaries clearly, then how is anybody supposed to know that the boundary is there? Even like I was saying earlier about being a hugger, right? I'm a hugger. Some people don't like that. And I would, you know, it's always respectful to say, I'm a hugger. Are you okay with that? And that person has the choice to say yes or no. It's also like when people are pregnant and people just go up and touch their stomach. Some people cannot stand that. Some people just are so infuriated by that because that's their personal space and they don't want anybody touching it. And that's totally fine. That's acceptable. And I think more people need to ask things like that. Like, is it okay? Like, even with my niece who, you know, I would say to her, is it okay? Can I touch your belly? But, and if she said no, that'd be fine. That's her boundary. But you have to set them and you have to stick to them. You can't flip-flop your boundaries. You can't be like, oh yeah, today you can come in my room when the door is closed, but tomorrow don't you dare. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to set boundaries, they need to be consistent so people always know where you're coming from. I don't know if any of this is making sense, and I don't know if Spirit's going to let me actually upload this, but I hope it made some sense, and I hope that it resonated with some of you, how important it is to set the boundaries and communicate the boundaries in any relationship, business, personal, any relationships that you have. I think boundaries are important to set. It was funny, like last week or the week before, I was at CVS. I was picking, I didn't even know that mail could go to CVS, and I got an email that I had to go there. And I walked up and I was far away from everyone, and there was like the plexiglass there, and I said to the girl, I said, excuse me, I said, I got an email that said I'm supposed to pick something up here. And she said, okay. She goes, if you go down to the end counter and wait, I'll be with you in a minute. Okay. I went and I stood off by myself, and I wasn't wearing a mask. It's not a mandate here. It doesn't have to be done. This woman that was standing waiting to go with this woman, I was more than 6 feet away from her, comes up in my face and says, if you're going to talk to someone without a mask on, you should definitely stay away, or I can't even remember what she said. And I was just like, I was so stunned I couldn't even respond. And the cashier behind the counters came over and she's like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, it's fine. I said, but she just got in my face to say that. It didn't make any sense. So like, if you're going to set boundaries that you don't want somebody within 6 feet of you, then stick to your own boundaries and don't communicate something and then go completely against the boundary that you just set, right? So if you say to somebody, listen, I'm not going to be available on Fridays, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're like, oh, maybe this Friday, oh, maybe not. Like, set the boundary and stick to it. Do not flip-flop, because then you just look like, somebody who's just trying to be in control instead of these boundaries being important to you. Okay? So before you set the boundaries, make sure it's something that's important to you. Make sure that you communicate them clearly so people know what the boundaries are, and make sure you're protecting your energy. And it's okay to tell someone that you do not want them in your life and in your energy space. But rather than just expect them to get the hint, communicate it clearly, okay? And stick to your boundaries. I hope that helps. As always, may trouble neglect you and angels protect you, and I will see you soon.